Welcome to Don Bosco in a Year podcast.
Day 69. Unfortunately, the memoirs of the oratory stops with this murderous attempts and the story of mysterious great dog. A new phase of St. John Bosco's life was about to begin, that of the founders. As his dreams about the future of the oratory had foretold, his first clerical helpers and his earliest recruits, Assanio Savio, Revelio, Belia, Gastini, Rossetti, did not stay with him. But some of the lambs did grow up and turned into shepherds. Bozzetti, Rua, Cagliario, Francesca, Angelo Savio, Bonetti, and others. The Salesians are probably unique in that of founders shaped his co-founders right from their boyhood and did not form as association of some kind with grown man. The decade 1854 to 1864 were the years of founding the Salesian Society. After night prayers on January 26, 1854, Don Bosco called the young seminarians, Rua, Cagliero, Rossetti, and Artiglia to his rooms. It was 3 days before the feast of St. Francis de Sales, and the priest proposed to the youth that they make promises to work together to perform deeds of charity towards their neighbor, that they might eventually bind themselves by vows, and that they take the name Salesians. They work of the oratories Valdaco, Portanova, and Vanciglia. Don Bosco guided them through conferences, spiritual direction, and confession. They continued their philosophical and theological studies. In the next year, their group increased, and some began to make private vows under Don Bosco's guidance. After almost 6 years, Don Bosco had with him one mature and experienced priest, Father Alessandrotti, and 18 youth whom he had trained himself. In December 1859, he invited them to form a new religious congregation. With him, to aim the sanctification of each member by mutual assistance and to promote God's glory and salvation of soul, especially of those in greater need of instruction and formation. For some, it was really a moment of decision. Don Bosco wanted to make monks of us all. Besides the vocational implication, there were the political ones. The government had already expelled all the monastic order and confiscated their property. Impetuous Cagliario paced up and down the portico for a long time before finally deciding, I am determined never to leave Don Bosco. Monk or not, it is all the same to me. When the group met on December 18, one too had decided not to come. Don Bosco, Father Alessandrotti, 16 seminarians, and one layman bound themselves by vow and formally founded the Society of St. Francis de Sales. Don Bosco had already drafted a rule and presented to Pius IX. During the next 10 years, 1865 to 1875, the Salesian grew and spread. They won temporary papal approval in 1864 and final approval in 1869. After much tribulation, the Vatican approved the rule in 1874. By then, bishops and municipalities from all over northern Italy were asking Don Bosco to establish schools or oratories for them. Don Bosco and Mary Domenica Mazzarello had founded the Daughter of Mary Help of Christians, and Don Bosco was beginning to plan the society's expansion into France and the foreign mission, which became realities in 1875. Don Bosco the builder was at work too. By 1863, the size and scope of the oratory had outgrown the church of St. Francis de Sales, and he began to think of a monumental church in honor of Our Lady under the relatively unknown title of Help of Christians. With his customary trust in divine providence, he began the work in 1864 and handed the contractor, Charles Buzzetti, the first payment, 8 centesimi, but with the abundant miraculous help from heaven, the church was completed and consecrated in 1864. With similar trust, energy, and heavenly help, Don Bosco proceeded to put up 2 more great churches in the 1870s and 1880s. One in honor of St. John the Evangelist in Porto Novo, and other by papal request in honor of the Sacred Heart in Rome. As a young man, Don Bosco had thought about going to the foreign missions. Father Cafeso happily discouraged him, but the dream remained. It was more than a dream, really, for the missions were the subject of many of his prophetic visions. For instance, when Cagliario was dying of typhoid in 1854 and Don Bosco was called to anoint him, he suddenly saw around the boy a crowd of dark-skinned savages from who knows where and a dove fluttering over the sick boy's head. He understood that Cagliario would recover and would eventually become a missionary. Other dreams seemed to show him the future field where his sons and daughters would labor to make good Christians and good citizens.
Thank you for joining us today on this journey to know Don Bosco. May these reflections deepen our faith, guide us closer to God each day, and hope to see you all tomorrow. Till then, keep seeking, keep praying, keep growing.